first season, episode 29, we looked at the question of who are the Africans by addressing the origin of the name of a continent and its inhabitants. However, we need to go further to explore all the descendants of Africans, especially those outside the continent, even if they themselves might not identify as Africans. It's now well established that the origin of man was in Africa, followed by migrations to all parts of the world. But more so, the recent migration was a result of successive slavery, with the infamous transatlantic slavery from the late 15th to 19th century, and even before that, the deportation of Africans to ancient Mesopotamia to produce sugar, and to India, then to southern Europe, since the 7th century. Regardless of their current geographical location, Afro-descendants have three inequalities in common: marginalization, poverty, and various forms of discrimination. Hello and welcome to a Sankofa taking off for a forbidden journey of Afro-descendants in the world.
African History Daily by my daddy.
The first stopover is in India, to the western state of Gujarat and to Karnataka in the south, to eat dokla with friends recommended by Nidhi. We find the Sidis, an ethnic group of 70,000 people, still resembling their East African ancestors who settled there more than a millennium ago. Including all Afro-descendant population, there is talk of 250 million, the largest black population in the world, ahead of Nigeria. In this same region, another group, the Afro-Pakistani, called the Makranis, with at least 250,000 people living on the southern coast of Pakistan, overlapping with Iran, where they are called Shidi, meaning black, Ghulam, meaning slave, or Nauka, meaning servant. Several of their cultural practices remain a recollection of their African heritage, such as the Za, a form of voodoo, their language that includes Swahili, and Bandari dances and music. This music then takes us to Arabia, eating dates with black Arabs. Like the Tuaregs and Nubians of North Africa, they are black-skinned Arab. And although the term black Arab may baffle some, it should be remembered that this Arabic word, before the rise of Islam in the 7th century, specifically referred to people belonging to the Bedouin ethnic group. Let's go now strolling in Southeast Asia to taste sticky rice with Negritos, considered as the first inhabitant of Southeast Asia. This term now refers to the population which includes ethnic groups of the Andaman Island, Semang of Malaysia, the Mani of Thailand, and some populations called 80 and 30 ethnic groups of the Philippines. Let's quickly forget the racist term Negritos to spin in Oceania, savor a Korori vanilla. The population there also come from the first migration out of Africa, around 60,000 before Christ, and settled in Australia, also in the island of Oceania, including Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. It was their mix with the Aborigine people that gave the rise to the Melanesian people who later inhabited the east up to Fiji. It is with a tapioca with coconut milk that we live for America. Sadly, remembering the more than 11 million Africans who between 1500 and 1900 survived the Middle Passage to be enslaved in the Americas and the Caribbean. Are you thinking of Brazil, the second largest Afro-descendant population outside Africa? What about Argentina, Colombia, Mexico, Venezuela, Peru, where the African minorities, despite the oppression, claim a little more every day their African ancestry and fight not to be invisible? How can you be invisible anyway when you account for at least 20% of the population of the whole hemisphere? Our final stop is now at St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's quickly sip a glass of rum before the long-expected chicken pilau. All these flavors take us back to Africa, where the story of a human race started, at least the only race that I know of. And to be frank, I like it like that. My African cliché of the day is an immigration form. As I entered Laos recently, the fourth line of the form asked for my race. After an initial surprise, I logically wrote human. I could see the astonishment on the immigration officer's face. Then he exchanged something with his colleagues, and finally, he remained silent. If not for the language barrier, I would have explained to him that his race is also mine, and that the term black he was hoping me to put there comes from the racialist ideology created by Europe to legitimize aggression on Africa. His being African what condemned Yannick Nihangaza, a Burundian student at a Punjab university in India who spent 9 months in a coma after being beaten up by a fellow student. What about Yohan, Koumba, Daouda, Mapaga, Yanis, Guiira, all those students who were attacked, almost killed by an Indian mob in 2016 in New Delhi? What race are these aggressors obsessed with light white skin? What about you? What race are you? Think about it and see you next Monday. Thank you.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and post a comment on Apple Store or your usual podcast platform.